Fox reading the New York Post yesterday, or the Daily Mail for the most part. But the Durham probe, it just has a budget, so they've only spent $3 million as opposed to $30 million from the Mueller operation. The Mueller probe, slowly but surely, John Durham is unearthing entire things that are one revelation after another, but suspected by Donald Trump all along. That the Hillary Clinton campaign, with some very familiar names, most of all as Mark Elias and Jake Sullivan, went ahead starting in July of 2016, started to infiltrate into the Trump campaign to push forward a scenario that Donald Trump and Russian banks and the Russian government were linked together. And should Donald Trump become president, I assume they wanted voters to think they would be linked to Russia. The whole Russian narrative always caught the president had him flabbergasted. I don't know what you're talking about with Russia. Now we know why the president was flabbergasted, because it seems as though the evidence reveals that there was absolutely no link to Russia. It was all literally trumped up, pun included, pun intended, because they were able to get a cyber team to infiltrate into Trump's campaign and get this, Trump's White House.
This is unbelievable. The Clinton campaign paid lawyers to infiltrate the Trump Tower servers and then later the servers at the White House. Unbelievable that they did this, and this is not a bigger story and not being covered by other media outlets.
Yeah, well, they paid an internet company to take a look. And you know those stories about how it has been revealed that there are servers at the Trump Tower that are communicating with Russia to make it look like Donald Trump was in bed with Putin or something going on. What we know for sure is on Friday, John Durham, who, you know, he's not one of these guys who goes in front of the cameras and says, okay, this is what I'm working on. He is, and that's pretty much the only picture we've got about him, because
we see, right?
he pretty much just works behind the scenes at the Department of Justice. But I've heard from people at the FBI and elsewhere that he goes to work every day. He had a filing on Friday. It was a motion related to potential conflicts of interest in connection with the case of Hillary Clinton lawyer, Michael Sussman. Now, Michael Sussman, you have heard him before, his name, because he has been charged by the FBI with lying to the feds, because he said, when I gave the FBI this information about how this was all working with the computers at Trump Tower talking to the Russians, I was not working for Hillary Clinton. Well, as it turns out, John Durham knows he was working for Hillary Clinton and was being paid by Hillary Clinton. So between the lawyer and this internet, we only know of it as internet company number one right now. John Durham was simply revealing the potential conflicts of interest as the court case proceeds.
Jake Sullivan, who is now our national security advisor, back then he was the senior policy advisor for Hillary Clinton's campaign. And this is what he said. Computer science, this was October of 2016, right before the election. Computer scientists have uncovered a covert server linking the Trump organization to a Russian-based bank.
It sounds terrible.
Right? This secret hotline may be the key to unlocking the mystery of Trump's ties to Russia.
So get this. So think about this. He's writing a novel and then reporting on the novel as if it's revelations. So he's saying
it's true.
Because he made it up, and then he reports on it as if he's reading it and go, oh my God, let me tweet this out. Hillary Clinton. Now, Georgia, what we just told you, that's the foundation. She knows all about it, and then she tweets this out in October, you know, weeks away from the election. It's time for Trump to answer serious questions about his ties to Russia. Now, the bottom line is, she went on to say, Donald Trump, this is Donald Trump on the Durham probe revelations, after he read what came out, knowing that he said they wiretapped my phones. Remember that? They wiretapped my campaign. Everyone said, what is going on? President-elect Trump is losing it. They wiretapped my campaign. Hillary Clinton campus wiretapped my campaign. What's going on here? Well, Donald Trump finally, I guess, got some solace in their report on Friday and said what Hillary Clinton and the radical left Democrats did with respect to spying on the President of the United States, even while in office, is a far bigger crime than Watergate. I agree with that, by the way. This is an insult to the Republican Party, but a far greater insult to our nation. Think about this. They jeopardized our relations with another country who is now slowly but surely morphed into a staunch enemy again, Russia, because they were unhappy that they lost and wanted to make sure that he didn't finish his one term.
Brian, she's running against him. And the money trail traces back to her campaign,
Right.
paying people to infiltrate his server. And then when he becomes president,
Nuts.
the White House server. What does that
Right.
say, A, about national security? But this should be extremely illegal.
Well,
She was running against him.
Everyone's got to be right. Jake Sullivan is still in power right now. This guy is close. The chief advisor of the
He's our
president of the United
national
States.
security advisor.
Yeah, he is the one telling us about these apparent war drums beating in Ukraine, and he's the one who's taking credit for the worst military debacle in American history. He says was a big success. That this is his brainchild. How is this guy still in office?
Well, here's the thing. It started, obviously, as a political dirty trick. We know dirty tricks happen all the time in big campaigns. This one, however, was never supposed to be revealed because, the story would be out there, hey, Donald Trump's talking to the Russians, look at the server information, because I just read about it in the paper and I saw the tweets from Jake and Hillary, so it must be true. Remember, she was projected to win, and so none of this ever would have been revealed. But then, at the 11th hour, Donald Trump wins. They continue the narrative. Remember the Steele dossier? Not real. The story about the Russian server? Not real. It was a dirty trick that has now morphed into a terrible blot of on America's history because it was a made-up story that ultimately wound up getting the president impeached.
You know what I'm heartened by? They did a poll, and they asked Democrats, do you believe Clinton should be questioned over the Russian allegations? Democrats. 44% in October 2020 said yes. In January, 66%. So look, I don't see any President Obama link to this. And remember, President Obama's the one who picked the phone and told Hillary to acquiesce and, you lost. Call him and tell him you lost. Concede. So I think this is a Clinton brainchild that is sullying possibly anything that President Obama accomplished. I don't know if Vice President Biden knew about it or what they were part of it, but can you picture this? And just so you know, not to get too confusing, but for the way I understand it, we don't know the name of the cyber company that infiltrated yet. Internet company. But we know that they had a government contract to do the work they did, to have the access. So that company was allowed to be in there and provide cybersecurity or a cyber service. Somebody got to that company and had them work against our sitting president for a defeated foe once he was president. Please wrap your head around that and ask yourself, if Watergate was only covered by Fox, would that be okay? This is as big as it seems that Durham is saying something even bigger than that, because this happened during a campaign in which Richard Nixon won 40 plus states against McGovern. Think about this. This is a razor's edge, and you have an infiltration of a campaign. Cyber didn't exist back then, and now you have it of a president by another party and a defeated foe.
He tried to tell Leslie Stahl this in that interview, remember? That this was all going on. This just shows how low they will stoop to win an election, to try and win an election. And everyone's wondering, will she get away with it?
Now,
Someone needs to be held accountable.
Was the FBI a stooge to this? And the CIA, were they like, I had no idea? Or were they part of it? That's going to be the biggest key. Were they just sitting there going, hey, thanks for that information. This is big. I better go investigate. Oh, thanks for that. Or were they helping get that information to destroy Trump?
All right, let's talk about what's happening in Ukraine, the mounting crisis.